Oh, you can tell by the sweat that it's April in Florida. It'd be a gorgeous summer day in Maine. Hey YouTube, it's Wednesday, back out in the wilderness. This week we're going to look at one of my favorite tarp setups for a full-size tarp. This is a 3x3, 3 meters by 3 meters. The setup I have right now is a lean-to, but it's a lean-to with an awning, and I also have tucked a little bit of the back underneath for a ground cloth. I really like this tarp setup, especially this time of year in Florida and as it starts to get warmer, because it's open, I get a nice breeze. This is the time of year in Florida going through about September when you might get a storm, you might not. This is a great tarp for that. It's also great for getting some airflow and it gives you a nice view, and it's plenty high enough so that I can sit under it. All of my gear fits under it well. I can use my camp cook kit with a stove if I want to, or if I have to do a fire, I can set it up at either end and stay out of the rain if I need to, but also have that fire to cook my food. Let me take you for a tour of it, then we'll deconstruct it and I'll show you how to construct it. For this setup, I have a DD hammocks 3x3, 3 meters by 3 meters. I've run a ridge line. That end I have a taut line hitch for my tightening end. My static end here, of course, which is where I started. I used overhand loop prusik knots to tighten along that ridge line. I've run guy lines out for the awning, and I'm going to have 3 guy lines total on this. One for each side of the awning. And then there's going to be one in the back. I'll show you that in just a little bit. I need 8 stakes for this. On my guy lines, I have 1 and then 2. Underneath, where I have it tucked underneath for the ground cloth, I have 1 there and 1 on the other side. So I have 4 so far. In the back, 2 more tent stakes on either corner. And then 1 here in the middle. Then this is that last guy line, that 3rd guy line, that I'm going to take from one of those loops there, the tie-out points on the tarp, and it's going to come back to my 8th stake. This tarp setup is going to require a ridge line, so I've already run that with my paracord down at that end. I have my static end. I could use my Avink Siberian hitch, or in this case I used that overhand loop and I wrapped it around, brought the ridge line across. On this side, quick release taut line hitch. I'm going to want to start with it at about chin height. You could go a little higher, a little bit lower. I like it about here because that keeps it low enough to protect me pretty well from the elements, but it also lets some breeze for this time in the south in Florida when I'm going to want that breeze to keep from getting too hot. Once I have this tied, I'm going to tighten that. Here I already have a prusik knot on my ridge line. I have a prusik knot at the other end. I'm going to need 2 of those for this setup to keep that ridge line of the tent nice and taut. I've draped the tarp over the ridge line. To make sure that I have enough for my awning on this tarp, I'm going to take the corner tie out and I'm going to let that hang over the ridge line, and then this is the next tie out point from that corner going towards the back. I have a toggle, my prusik knot, run that through that loop tie out point, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that tight, and now we'll go do the prusik knot at the other end of the ridge line. I'm here in the back now. And much like I did running across the ridgeline where I don't want to use the corner, I'm going to come from the corner in one tie-out point, tuck that corner underneath. That will eventually be my ground cloth. Take my stake, and I want to go diagonally at about a 45-degree angle and get that in nice and secure. Now we'll go to the other side and do that corner. Find that corner, tuck it underneath there to become my ground cloth, take my stake and in at about a 45-degree angle. And now I'm going to do the center one. Here's my center tie-out point. Pull that straight back, get that stake in there at that 45-degree angle. I have nice soft soil here in Florida, so I can push it in by hand. If you live in a place where you have more compact soil, you may need to baton that in there. But now I have the 3 tie-out points in the back. So I've tied on the ridge line, and I've come across the back. Let's go back to the front and tie out the awning. Now we'll take care of the awning in the front. I have a guy line here. This is the guy line that comes with the tarp, and it has one of those fancy tensioners made out of plastic, but you could just use your normal cordage with a taut line hitch for this. Come out at roughly a 45-degree angle. Pull that tight. Stake that down in. Let's get to the other side. Again, pull this side out at about a 45-degree angle. Here inside of the tarp, I want to secure my ground cloth. I'm going to do that again with stakes, and I'm going to take those corner points that I tucked underneath and pull those out at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to do the same thing at the other end. Here's my other corner of my ground cloth. That's that back part of the tarp. I want to be careful to not come out too far with that though, because the rain could pour right down the side of the tarp and then collect on my ground cloth and then migrate inside where I want to stay nice and dry. There's a final step of this, and it's optional. I do it because that ground cloth is only about my body width. That means that when I'm asleep in there or laying down in there, I might press up against the back wall of this tarp, and condensation can drip down onto me that way, and I think that indirect moisture inside the tarp is just as bad as direct moisture. I can take a guy line, and I can run that out to a tree and tie it off that way. If I don't have a tree handy, I can stake directly into the ground, but a nice in-between step that I use is I'll stake it into the ground, but leave it a little loose. And then I'll find a stick with a Y in it, and I can put that in there and drive that down into the ground a little bit. It will hold that stick, and it holds this up off of my body nicely. So there you have a lean-to with an awning and a ground cloth using the DD Hammocks 3x3. You can see I can sit up in here by keeping that ridgeline starting at chin level. Ground cloth here to protect me from the ground. Nice field of view all the way around. I can have my cook kit inside if I'm using my stove and be plenty safe and don't need to worry about burning the tarp itself. If I don't have that with me, this nice big opening here, I can have a fire right here sitting just outside of the tarp, sit inside the tarp if it's inclement, and cook all I want. It's a great setup as things get warmer, particularly here down in Florida, but wherever you are, you get a lot nice breeze. For most of you, it's getting to be that time of year when you really want to get out in the wilderness because it's impossible to be outside and be in a bad mood at the same time. So get outside this weekend. Try this setup. You might like it, even if you just go out for the afternoon. Enjoy it. We'll see you for another Wilderness Wednesday.